Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Alpha X cast from IEM Katowice 2022. I'm your caster, Renegade. In the top right, give it up for a blue Terran, the French phenom Clem. In the bottom left, as our red Terran player, it's the Lord of the Reapers, Byun. Now, this is a cast from the Group of Death, Group D, in the round of 24. I am blind casting this. There are 3 games in the folder, and I don't know who wins. Again, I did not spoil Katowice for myself before casting these games, so I'm very excited. These two have pretty much dead even 50% win rate against one another. And I think it's going to come down to the wire. Hardwire, our first map in the best of 3. Very, very calm openings from our 2 competitors. We'll have to see who's going to throw down a factory. Orbital starting up. And who's going to get aggressive with some Hellion Reaper? Who's going to play defensively? I don't know. Okay, Clem's going for the earlier factory. Reaper's out for a blue Terran, and it looks like he wants to send it forward. Byun sending his first Reaper out as well. So, I see a lot of TVTs where our combatants will just go for the natural. They don't try to macro up and tank out the third. It's a very, cyclone-heavy map. I think it's probably 2-to-1 the amount of games I cast where the Hellion Reaper Cyclone at the start of the game decides Hardwire. I don't know if that's what we'll see here today. But I'm going to hedge my bets and say it's pretty likely. Byun going right into Starport 1-1-1 on the field for both players. Question still remains: who attacks first? Byun definitely with the safer CC build. Raven starting first for Byun, and there it is! There's the Cyclone. Oh my god. What did I say? What did I say? Clem going for the Cyclone play. I think he will be our first attacker. Byun going up to 6 Hellion. Grabbing himself a tech lab on the barracks. Clem loads up the medevac and begins his assault. Byun, this Hellion's arrayed against the blue force, but he is going to pull himself out of position. Moving toward the middle of the map. Will these 2 intercept one another? Yes, they will! An early kill for Byun. Clem cleans up a Hellion. These are very well aimed shots coming out from Byun, but he does still have a Cyclone to contend with. He can line up the Marines reasonably easily. But the Cyclone is going to cause problems in the long run. Clem is going to click his medevac into the main, but a Cyclone popping just in time for Byun, heavily damaging the medevac. Byun Cyclone, putting the kibosh on Clem's attack. Auto turret dropped. But this is just a distraction. Byun is ready to advance into the front of his opponent's base. Clem has a well-positioned tank. Got some nice shots off on the Red Terran. But this game is far from over. Supplies are dead even. Has anyone lost more? Okay, Clem has lost 150 more minerals, 100 gas. We've seen some action, but relatively few kills thus far. Clem making another move. 2 Ravens flying cover. Byun getting out a couple Vikings to intercept. Scan goes down from Clem. Bunch of auto turrets drop for a blue Terran. They are trading pretty well, acting as a nice meat shield for the tanks while the disables wear off. 1 tank dies for Clem, but he's still got 3 in the fight. Is it going to be enough to break Byun? There's no meat shields. There's no chaff at the front for Clem to actually be able to engage this forward tank of Byun. So Byun, despite being on significantly lower army supply, is going to be able to hold. Is this a smart play from a Red Terran? He goes for it. He's trying to take out the air cover, and it's just not going to work as he sacks his ground forces into the blue tank line. That's going to be game number 1 in favor of Clem. Byun kind of got socked in the nose the last game. Clem just sent out his fists and went bap. And Byun's like, my nose, and tapped out. Byun tried to make a play to take over the air and then land on the opposing tanks, but it just didn't pan out. Clem's tank line too strong. Byun lost too much army supply early on in the final fight. 2k atmospheres, I think, is going to be a much more macro game than what we just witnessed. A lot of room for expansion. A lot of places to make drop plays. To pin your enemy at a choke. And some open spaces for ambush, but nothing too terribly open, right? We see chokes just everywhere on this map, with relatively few places where your army can get caught out and surrounded. Now, that's probably not terribly important in TVT, but it can make a difference with bioplay. You know, you get out here, you're marching toward the enemy base, you're seen with the Zelnaga, and then your opponent just comes in from multiple angles with Marines, and you lose your army. It's very sad. Especially in a potent tactic, if you're at an upgrade advantage on your infantry, can be very, very, very strong to hit your opponent in those wide open spaces. Both players developing their factories. Reapers active on the map, looking for proxies. No one is showing their cards just yet. Byun not going to take the safe expand by building his CC in the main. He is going to build it on location. "2K atmospheres, you usually don't see players be as aggressive as we saw in Hardwire. There's just no need for it. There's a decent rush distance, and your opponent's just going to have that slight extra defender's advantage when compared to Hardwire, so that's why we're seeing both our combatants sit back, relax, continue to develop their macro. Byun loads up his medevac. Hits the boost. 2 Reapers, 4 Marines, and a Hellion. As Clem sends out 4 Marines, 2 Reapers, and a Widowmine. Hellion versus Widowmine. Byun's medevac will arrive first. There is a Cyclone here to meet it. Byun with some nice micro on the medevac is able to use it to maximum effect, is getting all the heals off. Hasn't really lost anything yet, but Clem has arrived at the red base. I think Byun doing a great job of holding this off so far. Only 2 SCVs lost to the aid of Clem. And 3 Marines will survive along with the medevac. Very nice play from Byun. Clem is not so lucky. Killed 3 fewer workers. Does still have 4 Marines. He can still try to make something happen. He's got to be careful. He doesn't know where this Widowmine is. He doesn't know where Byun's troops are positioned. He's going to catch wind of the Cyclone and be very afraid to enter the main. Both players maneuvering into Ravens. Ah! Well, the Reaper got out at least. Got Sergeant Hammer in that tank. Pounding justice onto the Reaper. 2 SCVs killed off. For the auto turrets, finished off by the defensive tank of Clem. Byun returning home with the Raven. He's got to be careful. Clem definitely has the lead in Raven energy, right? Clem decides not to press the attack. Both players throwing down 2 additional racks. Byun, again, going for this Viking heavy style. It's looking a lot stronger than game number 1, though. Let's take a look at resources lost. 1,075 to 500 and 225 to 100. Yeah, Byun, it's safe to say, has won the early game. We'll just have that much extra peace and security as both players try to take their thirds. Clem's third is a tad faster, already becoming an orbital, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference. It's an extra scan or an extra mule over Byun. Double engineering bay for a red Terran has finished. Where are those sick upgrades? Byun is advancing in a column, but so is Clem. 3 Ravens flying cover. over the blue army to the more mixed air force of the red. Ooh, Byun's orbital not able to be made. Marines pounding out damage onto the CC. Disables on 2 of the Vikings. The red CC makes it to safety. Byun dropping several auto turrets. Anti-armor missile is basically perfect, and that's going to severely weaken the army of Clem. The Vikings land, and this is just a very powerful ground push from Byun right now. There's nothing Clem can do to engage this. What a flex from Byun. The auto turrets forcing his opponent up against the wall. And the anti-armor missile doing the rest of the work. Oh, the tanks come in for the flank. Clem is able to slip out of the hole and Byun's dragnet, but yeah, I don't think he has enough to defend this. He's got 4 tanks, 1 of them injured, 2 Ravens, 1 of them injured, 4 Vikings, 2 of them injured. Now, he's pulled some SCVs to start repairing, but Byun isn't going to give him time to prepare. The blue Vikings rule the skies, but that doesn't matter when Byun has a hit squad of Viking, Marine in your natural. The gases are blown up. The CC taking tremendous DPS from the Red Terran. Nine SCVs killed. Clem hurting in the economy. Byun continuing to trade out very, very well throughout the game. I mean, he's traded less efficiently as the game has continued forward, but is still on even footing with his opponent. Clem tries to counter, is going to be repelled. And I'm afraid in order to make this attack happen, Clem has left his third wide open. He does finish a radar tower that's going to make the location somewhat more secure. Starts pulling his troops back even more. Auto turret drop in the natural of Byun is going to cause some damage. 4 SCVs going down. Byun with a double drop in the main is going to cause some mayhem of his own. 3 SCVs dead. 6, 7, 8. The medevacs are going to be gunned down by the Vikings, and that means no retreat for the Marines on the ground. They will die, but at a cost of 9 more SCVs to Clem, as well as distracting part of the army as Byun launches another attack toward the natural of Clem. Medevacs loaded up the Marines. Drop on Clem's 4th CC. Byun has established his own 4th command center while attacking. 2-2 starting up for Byun. Clem just can't find his footing. This game turned into a big advantage for Byun minutes ago. Clem just struggling to make something happen, anything happen. Sends out 2 medevacs, scouted by the Marine. Byun's ready for the interception. Here we go, stem from Clem. Byun's forces are in a holding pattern. To the north. Oh man, the Viking lands, and that's actually enough for Byun to clean up at home. And I'm sure he's going to refocus on this attack. Raven blown out of the sky before it can cast a single spell. Byun up 109 army supply to 90. Precious SCVs dying before they can reach the mineral line. Clem has got to think his way out of this. 2 tanks moving to protect the 3 o'clock expansion. But those are resources that are sorely needed to defend Clem's production. Byun decides to go after the 3rd. I'm kind of surprised by that. I figured he would just barge into the natural, but it's going to be enough. The Marines, unsupported by any tanks, are overrun, and Byun evens the score 1-1. The board is set. The pieces are in motion. Is Byun going to pull out the proxy cheese? I don't think so. I don't think so. You definitely can on Berlingrad, but I think we're going to see another macro game out of these two. Neither of the previous 2 maps were 100% cut and dry. Byun definitely seemed very in control in game number 2. Game number 1 was extremely close. Byun actually trading better in the early game than Clem. But Clem pulling off the overall victory there. Byun trading just well throughout game number 2. Very consistent. Is Clem going to be able to pull things back? So much money on the line at IEM Katowice as well. It's the public standing, as well as the trophy. You want to advance as far as you can. It's a tournament that's built out for an entire year. So many other brackets in support of IEM Katowice. And these two are sitting in the round of 24, doing their best as competitors to put out their best showing, to show the best version of themselves that they possibly can as sportsmen, as StarCraft players. Clem halfway done with the factory. Byun halfway done with the factory. It's going to be Hellion Reaper for both players. Byun making a nice move with his initial Reaper. He is going to delay the second CC from Clem by quite a large amount of time. This is a reversal of the last game, where Clem was slightly ahead on all of his eco tech. Had quicker orbitals on the Nat and the 3rd. Clem gets the counter delay. Oh man, the micro here from Byun, so good. Clem has to regroup, and I don't think we're going to see him push out again for a while. It would be kind of foolhardy. We have defensive Cyclone from Byun. He's starting a second Cyclone. Banshee on the way. Byun totally switching up his build order plan from what we've seen previously in the series. Clem does appear to be going bio once again. Large Reaper Hellion contingent zooms toward the main of Byun. They're all going to go into the natural. Byun holds strong, holds fast, chases Clem away. Starts up a Raven. That early Raven energy can just be so crucial for any Terran. Every second that ticks by where Byun's building a Raven and Clem is not building a Raven is so good for Byun. But it looks like we're not going to see a Raven at all from Clem. Both players going on the attack. Neither has scouted that the other is going for an assault of any kind. 3 SCVs killed off by Byun. 4th SCV dead. 5th SCV dead. Byun trying to hold his ramp. It's the worker death count for Clem. It's a baker's dozen. Still a Reaper and a Cyclone pounding at the natural of Clem. Byun pulling his workers into battle. Auto turret. Dueling Reapers that are being healed by medevacs. But yeah, I think this is solidly a hold for Byun. He's up 6 army supply. Now he is going to lose these units most likely. Yeah, he's just going to let the units die. So that will even the army supplies a tad, but he's still ahead too, as well as up a couple workers. About 10% bigger economy than his opponent. So our Red Terran narrowly eking out the victory in that series of engagements. Clem going for a tank drop, but flies right over the Cyclone. The tanks are able to evac the medevac before the medevac ultimately succumbs to the Cyclone of Byun. And there's just no way Clem can fight this with what he has at the moment. He is going to send in the Viking, take a shot at one of the Ravens, run away. Stim started up for a Red Terran before the blue. Double Viking production going down for Clem this time, as well as Byun. Clem not wanting to lose air superiority early on, making big investments in his future, with players getting a 3rd CC. But this time Byun's going to have the earlier 3rd. This is almost like the 2 switch sides from the previous game. Yeah, Byun made a Banshee at the start, but we are seeing a total reversal of our mid-game tech from these two. Byun with the earlier 3rd CC, Clem with the earlier double Viking. What are the Viking counts looking like right now? 6-3, yeah, double the Viking count for Clem. Clem is walking into a trap, luckily. As we noted earlier, he has a massive air force, so he is able to scout ahead. Gets the full scan on the army of Byun. He is going to try a different angle. Byun gets the scan on Clem. He's going to know exactly where he needs to reposition. Ooh, so Clem with the better Viking count here, I believe. But Byun definitely with the better position, at least at the start of this engagement with the concave. Anti-armor missiles doing some work for Byun, but not enough work, clearly. Clem is going to be able to survive with all 4 of his Vikings. Byun thinks he can take Clem in a fight right now, apparently. These two are only 10 army supply apart. Big disables on the forward tanks of Clem. Vikings take out the Liberator first. That allows Clem to get some trades off early on in the air war, as well as bring forward 2 reinforcements. That big defender's advantage for Clem. Byun losing his tanks. But it's not over yet. More bio streaming to the front for Byun. Clem's reinforcements, of course, getting to the front lines a lot faster than the Red Terrans, but Byun able to force a lift up on Clem's orbital, and that means Byun's mining on a massive economy relative to his opponent right now. Look at all these idle SCVs on top of the already 13 worker deficit for Clem. Byun's just going to be able to outproduce Clem moving forward. Clem needed to tear down the ramp when there were only 2 tanks and a Marine here, and he just didn't take the opportunity, so... This is a situation you put yourself in, Clem. Clem trying to move the orbital to the other 3rd location. Byun moving to intercept. Byun taking a 4th base behind his attack. Combat shield's about to finish for him. Although Clem does have +1. We'll get it eventually. Everything is in favor of Byun here, right? Army supply, map position, map control, base count, worker count, upgrade lead. Clem's hanging on as best he can, but I think that was definitely an overextension, losing 2 Marines for free. Trying to retake some map control. It's going to cost him a tank as well. Byun loading up into the medevacs, going for a doom drop, and there's nothing Clem can do to stop it. He has no defenses in the main. He's trying to get something together right now. He senses what's happening. Right as it becomes too late, the SCV is being pulled into battle against the siege tanks, and that means even more of those borderline irreplaceable workers are going to fall to the red forces. 2 tanks were left at the 3rd. That's going to make this run by a tad difficult for Byun. He attempts it anyway. It doesn't really work out. 13 SCVs die before the attack's cleaned up. That's not even really a hold at that point. Like, your opponent can afford to replace these units. You cannot. You cannot afford to throw away your workers when you're in the situation that Clem is in right now. Clem finishes the armory so he can finally start 2-2. Byun, about to finish his, will have an upgrade lead again for quite some time. He's pulled most of his army back to a defensive posture, expecting some kind of counterattack from Clem, but I don't think it's coming. Dropping the main, able to kill off a couple Marines and a Viking, 2 Vikings. Roughly an even trade for the 2 players. Byun tries to steal a worker kill. It's not going to happen. But he does force some of Clem's units to run around in the main instead of being in position at the 3rd where Byun really wanted to launch his attack. Clem is able to respond in a timely enough manner that Byun is held off from the 3rd for now. But that's just going to pull Byun's aggro back toward the natural, back toward the main, back toward the blue production. I think we're going to see potentially a full elevator into the main. Okay, I guess not. These guys are just going to run southward. Clem doesn't quite lose a barracks from this attack. It costs Byun 2 tanks, but he can still afford all this. Clem cannot. Clem has to pull another SCV off the line to repair the barracks. Byun preps another drop. Clem trying to muster his forces. I think he's about ready to push out. And you know what? Army supplies have evened. Byun's been trading out army for Clem's economy. Clem hasn't really been focused on replacing that economy too much. He has been focusing on replenishing his forces so that he can go for this attack. What we're seeing right here, medevac full of units goes down for Byun. Not a good sign this early on in the fight. Clem does have a shot here. Clem can make this happen. Upgrades are going to be even for a few seconds at the very least. Clem trying to find the perfect angle that he can push through and checkmate Byun. Byun now up to 5 bases. If this attack does not deal critical damage to Byun, Byun will be able to close out this game. Clem trying to take a 4th base down the left side of the map. A massive engagement spanning half the map as the Red Marines are cut to shreds to the north. The southern flank of Byun is holding. He is still on 4 base. He's even economy with Clem. 5th was lit on fire for a while, but it will be repaired by Byun's SCVs. Clem trying to get a flank on Byun. Byun counter-flanking. Clem splits off 2 medevacs to go for the drop. It is seen. Clem's going to clean up 2 tanks. This will pull Byun back home. Medevacs lift off again, go for the drop in the main. Byun's already rallying his reinforcements to deal with this, and the blue units will be killed off as they drop from the medevacs. That 3-3 of Byun paying huge dividends right now. Anti-armor missile lands smack dab in the middle of Clem's army, disables on almost all of the tanks. Byun smacking down Clem's expeditionary force and is about to thrust a spear into the blue 3rd. Ooh, a big wave of reinforcements cleaned up by Byun. Half of Clem's army now cut off from the rest. Clem's going to try and come in from behind, but tanks are not the fastest moving units. They're not the best flankers, especially because they take time to siege up. Byun is already on top of this. The 3rd of Clem is taken out, and Clem could continue this forward, but it's unlikely he would be able to beat Byun at this point, and that means he is going to tap out. Byun takes the series 2-1 in Group D of the round of 24.